Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown, the unofficial podcast for official sumo fans. This is Jake.
This is Ryan, and this is the Banzuke prediction for the Natsu Basho. Jake, this is one of the more difficult Banzukes that we've had in quite a while. It'll become evident when we get there, but it's one of those where overwhelmed with options. And the Banzuke committee has been very erratic with some of their decision making, just doing one thing one basho and doing something else the next basho. It's very hard to predict how we're going to handle the situations where we have too many options to choose from to fill Rikshi in certain spots. We'll dive more into the details when we get there. But top of the Banzuke, that's always easy. That's going to be
Hey, first off, real quick,
Sorry.
we're recording this later than usual. I guess I just want to bring that up because what we've been doing is waiting to release this episode until after the Guess the Banzuke deadline has passed, just so that fewer people can cheat off of your homework.
Correct.
Did that change how your thoughts went? Like having more time to stew on this one than usual? Did that change how you went about it?
No, not really. I think the difficulty of this one just made me not want to work on it and ignore it and pretend that it doesn't exist. So I just kind of put it off a little bit longer than I might usually have. Like the last one,
I see.
Last one was fairly simple and easy to put together, and we recorded that like the week after the Basho. And here we are. It's been, what are we, 3-4 weeks out of the tournament, and I finally got around to like, okay, it's done because it needed to be done.
I think we're closer to the next one than we are to the last one.
Oh, very easily, yes.
But yeah, no, it's normally something that you do right away. So I guess I was curious if we are.
I did my first draft right away.
Yeah,
but the final deep dive draft took a lot of effort for me to do it, just because I know I'm going to be wrong, and so I didn't want to.
Yeah. I guess it was like, I was curious: is it procrastination, or was it you were still working on it? You know, like, was it still like, were you still bouncing ideas back and forth in your head over and over and over again? Or was it more just like, I don't want to, we'll record it next week. I don't want to, we'll record it the next week.
I would say procrastination, because bouncing ideas around in my head happens throughout the entire process. And
sure,
this one maybe more than any, like going through my final draft, I was like, you know what? No, I'm going to completely change this section of how I'm doing it. So, I mean, that was still happening when I was writing my final draft, and completely changed how I did something from the first two drafts. So it means going to get all of those completely wrong, and it was going to be right based on the first way that I had it.
As is tradition.
Yep.
I guess I certainly don't want to dodge my responsibility, too. I've been busy as heck for the last couple of weeks, too. I won't do a full plug here, but go check out the 2025 U.S. Sumo National Championships. That's on Dark Circle Sumo on YouTube. And also the Rain City Open. That's on Rain City Sumo's YouTube channel. Both those events happened in the last couple weeks. I was lucky enough that I was able to get to both of them, and that is kind of all of my travel for the foreseeable future. But it was a blast, and it was a whirlwind, and now I don't really know what to do with my time. So go check those out.
I guess you'll have to be a father now.
I don't want to raise my kid. Like, what's the, man. That sounds exhausting. Can I just like travel for sumo all the time?
I say
not
yes.
Super rhetorical. I'm asking for help on how I can make it happen.
I say go for it.
Okay. Right.
Let Katie know.
My wife, when she listens to this, it's on record. Brian said so. Yep. I get to travel as much as I want.
Absolutely.
But yeah, okay. That's enough ado. Shall we get into this one?
Let's get into it. Like I said, Yokozuna, that's always really easy. No matter how disappointing a Yokozuna debut it was for Hoshoryu, he will remain our sole Yokozuna. But for how long will he be our sole Yokozuna? Because the Rikshi we have at Ozeki East, Ono Sato, he just won the Yusho. Another Yusho for Onosato would secure our second Yokozuna promotion of the year. Be interested to see last time we had two Yokozuna promotions within one calendar year. I'm sure it's been since like the 90s, probably.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, man, it is weird having the only Yokozuna promotion since we started this show was Terano Fuji. And that
Mhm.
was just like, yeah, come on, of course that's happening.
Yeah.
Duh. And then other than that one, it felt like nobody was ever even remotely close, except for like a few guys once.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden we're overflowing with Yokozuna potential here. Really
Yeah,
cool.
it's really exciting. And the other Ozeki that we have, Koto Zakura, on the west side of the Ozeki rank. He did manage to hold on to that rank after clearing
Yeah.
Kataban with the 8-7 record. So he has guaranteed himself at least two more Basho as Ozeki. And hey, he's not too far off from a 14-1 record himself. So he definitely has some Yokozuna
Exactly.
potential as well. Hopefully, I really hope we get to a point where all three of these guys are Yokozuna. I
That'd
think
be really
that would
cool.
be delightful. Let's move down to Sekiwake. Stays easy here at Sekiwake East. Daisho will remain Sekiwake East after his 9-6 record. But the first real decision point in this Bansuke is who is going to join him at the Sekiwake rank. I would say there are three candidates for this rank. We have the Komusubi Kirishima with an 8-7 record. We have Maegashira 1 Wakataka Kage with a 9-6 record. And we have Maegashira 4 Takayasu with that 12-3 record. Wakamoto Haru technically also deserves to be ranked, deserves to be in this conversation. He deserves to be ranked higher than Kirishima, but he is out of the consideration because there's no scenario in which Wakamoto Haru would jump ahead of Wakataka Kage.
Right.
So there is no way that Wakamoto Haru can take the Sekiwake West ranking.
Gotcha.
So
That makes sense.
by the math, if there wasn't this ceiling at the Sekiwake rank where you couldn't go past beyond meeting certain criteria, Takayasu would deserve to be ranked higher than all three of these guys if we weren't capping them all at Sekiwake. So by the math, Takayasu would deserve this rank, but we also have he's like Maegashira 4. We have a smaller Sanyaku now, so the joy definitely extends down to Maegashira 4, but Wakataka Kage is Maegashira 1. He's definitely firmly entrenched in that joy. Maybe that will give him a little bit of preference over Takayasu, but we also have Komusubi Kirishima. And I think for me, Kirishima being a Komusubi with a winning record, that's going to give him the edge to take the open Sekiwake rank. So I have Kirishima as our Sekiwake West in the next Basho.
That kind of makes sense because like the pressure to make sure there's a promotion is always high. This is the one area of the Bansuke where like you could get a winning record and potentially stay put. Like
Right.
obviously Daisho just did, right?
Yep.
But like, yeah, there's a lot of pressure to make sure that these guys get a promotion if they get a winning record. Kirishima only has one spot he could even be in the discussion for.
Hmm.
So yeah, I follow your logic. I obviously wish that Takayasu could get this because I'm no secret that's where my heart lies, but I guess logically it makes sense for him to be there. Um,
Yeah.
how do you think like would one more win for Takayasu or anything like that? Like where would you draw the line? Like how close is it?
I don't. I honestly don't know. Like if Takayasu had gone 15-0, does it still change the fact that Kirishima is a Komusubi with a winning record and there's
Sure.
an open spot at Sekiwake? It might. It also might not. I'm not sure. And who knows? Takayasu could jump over him right now. We could leave Takayasu put at Komusubi. That's not what I'm predicting, but this will be good data point for the future here.
Fair enough. Okay.
So now we've got to figure out, we still got Takayasu, Wakataka Kage, Wakamoto Haru. Which one of those are going to make it to our two Komusubi ranks, and in what order would they make it up there? So for me, once again, at least for Komusubi East, Wakamoto Haru cannot take the Komusubi East ranking because his brother must be ranked ahead of him. So it comes down to Wakataka Kage versus Takayasu, and like I said, if these guys weren't running into that rank ceiling of Sekiwake, Takayasu would deserve to be 3 ranks higher than Waka
Hmm.
Takakage based on his 12-3 record. And I think that is enough for Takayasu to jump ahead of the Waka Bros here. So I've got Takayasu as our Komusubi East. We'll see when the Bansuke comes out. Maybe it's enough for him to be ahead of Kirishima because I think he deserves to be 4 ranks higher than Kirishima.
Hmm.
Uh, so we'll see how that all plays out. But that means by default, Wakataka Kage, in my prediction, has to be our Komusubi West.
Yeah, to
So
me, it seems like Kirishima versus Takayasu is much closer of a could be the other way than anything involving the Waka brothers at this point. At
yeah,
least based on, but yeah, based on the way you're presenting it here, I think I agree with that. Like Takayasu's kind of for sure gonna leapfrog those two, but yeah, versus Kirishima, it seems I don't know. I don't know. I'm very curious, and
hmm,
I think that if this isn't even the longest paragraph on your outline, so maybe I should let you keep going
no,
here.
not even a
But
little.
it involves Takayasu, so that's why I'm most interested.
Yeah. And I might have done some research back a month ago when the Basho ended about really good records in the like upper Maegashira ranks and if they would
Mm,
jump ahead of a Komusubi for Sekiwake. That's probably such a niche case. There's not a whole lot of precedent to go off of that
sure.
anyways. But something we do need to decide, should we have 3 Komusubi on our Bansuke?
Sure.
You can see if you're watching on YouTube, I don't have any space for more Komusubis to fit into my prediction. So obvious where I am going with that. But it is a question that we need to ask ourselves. Is Wakamoto Haru's 9-6 record from Maegashira 1 West enough to force open a third Komusubi rank? Taking a look at that situation in the past, you have to go back to Takatoriki in 1994 to find the last time a 9-6 record from Maegashira 1 West would force open a third Komusubi slot. So that's over 30 years ago at this point. Since then,
Yeah.
there have been 3 instances within the past decade where the Sanyaku ranks were full and a 9-6 Maegashira West 1 West Rikshi had to settle with just a half rank promotion over to Maegashira 1 East. So that is what I have happening with Wakamoto Haru in my prediction. I have him landing at Maegashira 1 East. I did come up with a scenario in my mind as we were talking just a few minutes ago was, well, what if they do this? And I don't think this is going to happen. But what if they decided, oh no, Wakataka Kage, Wakamoto Haru at Maegashira 1, they, for whatever reason, deserve precedent over Takayasu. And so they take up Komusubi East and West. And then would Takayasu at 12-3 for Maegashira 4, does that force open a third Komusubi slot? Is that a way we can make 3 Komusubi happen? I never really would consider that. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I think
Sure.
what I have predicted is the most likely situation, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that we do somehow actually end up with 3 Komusubi on the next Bansuke.
Gotcha. Yeah,
And if
it's
we do, my prediction is utterly screwed, as is everybody else in Guess the
yeah.
Bansuke.
Yeah, I know that it's generally right at the very tippy top. It's got to be a Komusubi or Maegashira 1 opening up those extra Sanyaku slots
Yeah.
generally. Somebody from all the way down at 4. In another situation, Takayasu could very well go all the way up to Sekiwake.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, I think that we're not at the realm yet of forcing open new slots. That's
Yeah.
been that's been much rarer since we had what maybe 2 years ago through 1 year ago, something like that was where we had like a long stretch of extra slots. But yeah,
Hmm.
the slots are a lot. Sorry, the extra slots are a lot easier to keep open than they are to create. Like once they're there, they often get refilled. It seems like from guys
I
getting a winning record and staying there.
I don't necessarily. Yes, yeah, guys. In that case, yes, guys having a winning record. Like if you have 3 Sekiwake, they all have a winning record, and none of them growing up to ozeki. You're not going to all of a sudden
Yeah,
have 2 Sekiwake the next basho. Yeah,
yeah. It just seems to me like once they open that can of worms, it's a an irregularity that sometimes takes a minute to go away.
yeah.
So I don't know if that would be a factor for them when they make the decision, but it's at least an observation I have, I guess.
I don't know. Maybe they don't like going all the way down to Maegashira 18, and so maybe right now they're looking for any excuse possible to
Yeah.
expand the Sanyaku ranks.
Yeah, that the number 18 is cursed in some way that we have to avoid. Therefore, Takayasu gets to be Sekiwake or something.
I think this
Whatever.
is just like the third or fourth Bashos in the in the current era since like 1958 that has
Hmm.
had a Maegashira 18. So
Yeah.
we're in rarefied air with the low number of Sanyaku Rikishi that we currently have.
Yeah. When we first started watching sumo, there were 3 Yokozuna and 4 ozeki all at the same time.
Yeah.
Very different era right now.
All right, I'm just double checking my Maegashira 18.
I know we've
Well,
certainly
it
seen
did
it a handful
happen.
recently.
It did happen in 1959, actually, quite a bit there. But then, yeah, this will be our third or fourth one since 2020. And there
Ah,
hadn't been any
okay.
between 2020 and 1959. But
Wow.
let's move on.
Okay.
Spent
Yeah,
too much
well,
time talking about something that's probably not going to happen.
but at the very least, yes, my perception that it's happened more recently was at least spot on.
Yes.
Okay. All right, moving on.
So Maegashira 1 West, this should be fairly simple. Nobody deserves to be ranked Maegashira 1. So we need to look at who deserves to be ranked Maegashira 2 and pull them up here. Among that list of Rikishi is one that is dropping from the Sanyaku ranks. They always seem to have a lot of bias on their side. So I am going to take Oho falling 2 ranks to Maegashira 1 West after his 6-9 record from the Sekiwake rank. The other Rikishi he'd be competing with is Tamawashi, who went 10-5 from Maegashira 7. I'm going to take the dropping Sanyaku Rikishi 10 times out of 10 over a mid Maegashira Rikishi,
Sure.
especially when they're tied for deserving the same rank and both on the same side. Like,
All the
Oho's going to be
tiebreakers.
Maegashira 1 West. Yeah.
Right.
So going to Maegashira 2 East, you might think, hey, this is Tamawashi's spot. He just missed out when Oho took his spot at Maegashira 1 West. But there is another Rikishi dropping out of the Sanyaku ranks. They don't deserve to be the same rank as Tamawashi, but they do deserve to be 1 rank lower than them, which we have seen plenty in the past. If dropping Sanyaku Rikishi deserves to be 1 rank lower than a rising mid Maegashira, that dropping Sanyaku Rikishi is going to get the preference and end up ahead of that rising Maegashira. So I'm going to assume a little bit of Sanyaku bias is going to happen here. And I think that Abi will drop 2 ranks from Komusubi to Maegashira 2 East to kind of snub Tamawashi here a little bit. And I also think this will happen because this is kind of a theory that I'm going to be working with a lot in this Banzuke is Abi's not really taking a spot away from Tamawashi that Tamawashi deserves. Tamawashi was Maegashira 7 West, so by the math, he would deserve to end up at Maegashira 2 West. So Abi's just kind of like filling this extra spot. Tamawashi deserves it more than him, but it's not Abi's not keeping like anything that Tamawashi has earned away from him by
Sure.
going a half rank ahead of him. Tamawashi's still getting his full promotion. He's just not getting any over promotion in any way, shape, or form.
That makes sense. He's not like getting punished or anything like that. He's just not getting a freebie reward of a half rank.
Exactly. And so that leaves Tamawashi free and clear to take the Maegashira 2 West ranking, a 5-rank jump for the 40-year-old wonder.
Good
Just
Lord.
the more he sticks around, the more I'm coming to appreciate and love him.
Senior citizen. It's a miracle.
It is.
Great guy. Friend of the show.
So Maegashira 3 East. This is where we're going to get a small taste of the problems that lie within this Banzuke. So we have obviously 2 ranks to fill at Maegashira 3, but there are 3 Rikishi that are fighting for these 2 spots. Somebody is going to get snubbed, and that is the whole problem with this Banzuke. No matter how you put it together, multiple Rikishi are going to be snubbed. There's nothing that can be done to escape it. This is a small example here. 3 guys to fill 2 spots. Later on, when we get to the Maegashira 6 through Maegashira 8 ranks, we're going to have 9 Rikishi to fill 6 spots. So
Oh
somebody
dear.
is going to be 2 numerical ranks lower than they should be. People are going to be over demoted. And this situation that starts at Maegashira 6, like really in full force, that's not going to get cleared up until Maegashira 12. This is one
Oof.
of the more brutal sections of a Banzuke that I have ever seen, with just such a prolonged period of too many options to fill these spots.
Sheer chaos.
Yeah.
Cats and dogs living together.
Yeah. It's a lot easier when, oh, there's not enough people. We got to figure out who we're going to pull up here,
Hmm.
because there's a lot fewer options. Because like a lot of the time it's like, okay, now we got to look at the group of Rikishi that deserves to be Maegashira 4 to end up at Maegashira 2. Well, we can't take this guy because he was 7 and 8 Maegashira 3, so we can't promote him. So you kind of whittle down the list this way. When you have too many options, it's just that you have too many options. You can't
Sure.
eliminate anybody
It's
unless
a
you
less
get down to the bottom
straightforward
of the Banzuke and
process.
you
Yeah.
got Juryo people that you can just ignore
Yeah.
for a little while. But
We don't
that's
even
not
have
where
those
it's going to be
punching bags
happening.
here yet.
Yeah, don't worry. We'll punch them plenty later on when we get to the bottom of the
Oh,
Banzuke.
of course, of course. But yeah, it would be nice if we had a little bit of something to beat up here at the Joy still.
Yeah. So before we get to the 20 car pileup that is the middle Maegashira ranks, we have to deal with our little bit of bottlenecking that happens because there's a car pulled over to the
A
side and
little
everybody's just,
amuse bouche of car
yes,
crash.
a little amuse bouche.
An
Um,
appetizer.
yeah.
Just the onion rings that come out early of this car crash.
Yeah. So fighting for and deserving the Maegashira 3 rank, we have Gonoyama, Hiradoumi, and Takeru Fuji. 2 of these Rikishi were on the east side. So I've got to say, tough luck to Takeru Fuji. You're going to be under promoted here. I'm not considering you for Maegashira 3 at all. So then we have a fight between Gonoyama and Hiradoumi. We could choose to go with the typical tiebreaker here of who has the better record, and that would go to Hiradoumi. But Hiradoumi was outside of the Joy, while Gonoyama was ranked Maegashira 2, getting a 7 and 8 record. So I'm going to give Gonoyama a little bit of Joy bias here, have him drop down 1 rank to Maegashira 3 East, which means I have Hiradoumi rising 3 ranks to Maegashira 3 West, and then that would put Takeru Fuji rising 2 ranks after a 6 and 9 record to Maegashira 4 East.
I don't know. Makes sense. That you really built that up to be more than it ended up being, but I makes
That
sense.
one was easy. Like I said, a little sneak peek. Sometimes you have too many options, but then, 2 guys are on the east side, so who cares about the third one? It's not going to play out that way the rest of the time.
All right,
So
it was a light appetizer. It was a light appetizer, but a very hearty stew is coming.
Exactly. So Maegashira 4 West, we now have to look at 3 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 5 to fill this spot, because there's no Rikishi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 4. All 3 of these Rikishi were on the west side, so we can't use that to narrow it down at all. The 3 Rikishi that we're looking at here are Ichi Yamamoto, Oshoma, or Chiyoshoma. I don't think it's going to be Ichi Yamamoto to take this spot. He went 7 and 8 from the rank that we are trying to fill, and there are other people that can take the spot, so I don't think they're just going to leave him there when there's other people that can take that spot from him.
Sure.
So
Those
then-
7 and 8s that stay put are more like a band-aid, whereas here we
Yeah.
don't need a band-aid yet.
Exactly. Yep. So then if we're eliminating Ichi Yamamoto, it comes down to Chiyoshoma versus Oshoma. Chiyoshoma, he was ranked Maegashira 2. Oshoma was ranked Maegashira 8. I'm going to give Chiyoshoma the joy bias here. Let him go ahead of Oshoma and drop down 2 spots to Maegashira 4 West after his 6 and 9 record. Oh, also just a fun little tidbit. This Basho had the most 6 and 9 or 9 and 6 records in history. Like literally ever.
Seriously?
No Basho before had been this many Rikishi with either a 6 and 9 or 9 and 6 record.
Yeah, good lord, it's like half of them.
It is 20 Rikishi.
Oh, one short of half of the entire Banzuke.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
The previous high was with 18 Rikishi, and that happened back in 1957. So
That's so
this
silly.
level of like mediocrity has not been seen in sumo for 70 years.
But not like perfect mediocrity, because then you'd expect 8 and 7s or 7 and 8s. It's
Yeah,
like
9 and 6 and 6 and 9 are just 8 and 7 and 7 and 8s with a little extra spice. They still don't do much for you.
Midwestern spicy. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we're gonna keep the food analogy going, yes, this is when you ask for spicy at, like, I don't know, the Golden Corral.
Yeah. All right. Maegashira 5 still got two people that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 5. And so with it down to Ichi Yamamoto versus Oshoma, Ichi Yamamoto sitting at Maegashira 4, don't typically think of that as somebody having joy bias, but like I said, much smaller Sanyaku than we're used to. Maegashira 4 West within the joy. So I'm gonna have Ichi Yamamoto go ahead of Oshoma here. It could go the other way, but that's what I'm gonna do. So I've got Ichi Yamamoto, Maegashira 5 East, and then that leaves Oshoma to rise 3 ranks to take the Maegashira 5 West rank. And once again, kind of my thinking with that, Oshoma's still getting his full promotion that he deserved. Ichi Yamamoto, if he does get any sort of joy bias, that's just allowing him to fill a spot that really nobody deserved. Nobody deserved to be ranked as high as Maegashira 5 East among these two. So just use the guy that was ranked a little higher to kind of fill that spot, and Oshoma still gets his full promotion.
Sure.
Which is why I'm a little bit nervous about Gonoyama and Hira de Umi, because technically Hira de Umi was on the east side, so maybe you could think of it as like a half rank under promotion.
You already did that one. You can't. Yeah. No going back now.
But then I also think to myself, you're trying too hard. Which is always a thought that I immediately push away and dismiss out of hand.
It's okay. The rest of us are also thinking that.
Yeah. Okay, here it is. Maegashira 6. This is where I promised it was going to happen. This is where the pileup occurs, and we're not going to fully escape from this until we are done with the Maegashira 12 rank.
Oh, so, buddy, I hope you stretched first.
I did. Plenty of stretching, lots of stretching. Hammies are ready to go. So
good.
We
the
have
most important muscle for this.
Yeah, the hammies.
All right, really, sorry. Go on.
Yeah. So we should honestly just cut that from the recording. We have 3 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked. Nah, I know. Maegashira 6 fighting for these 2 spots. All of them were on the east side. So once again, no simple tiebreakers. But we do have another Rikishi that is falling out of the joy. In this case, it is Tobizaru, who went 6 and 9 for Maegashira 3. Ura was technically also in the joy. He's one of the Rikishi that is contending for this spot. So it's Tobizaru, Ura, and Hakuoho. Once again, Ura technically in the joy, but he was Maegashira 5, and I just can't bring myself to count a Maegashira 5 Rikishi as in the joy and getting
just
bias. Yeah. So because of that joy bias, I'm going to have Tobizaru take the Maegashira 6 East ranking. Even though mathematically he does deserve to be ranked the lowest of all of these Rikishi. So we could see a situation where it goes Hakuoho, Ura, and then Tobizaru, and Tobizaru gets over-demoted out of the joy, just like Atami Fuji got over-demoted out of the joy last time in a similar situation. So these 3 could really go in any order. I'm choosing to give Tobizaru some joy bias here. So Now we have to choose between Ura and Hakuoho. Like I said, Ura's technically in the joy, as Maegashira 5 East was the 16th Rikishi on the March Banzuke. But also, Maegashira 5 is a rank that has not historically gotten much, if any, preferential treatment from the Banzuke committee. Like I said many times, our Sanyaku is historically smaller than at any other point in recent history. So for not the last time on this Banzuke, I feel like we have a coin flip. And when I'm in a coin flip position, I need to trust a power that is higher than myself. And that power is the math. So following the math would say that Hakuoho had more wins than Ura, and so he deserves to go ahead of him. And so I'm going to have Hakuoho land at Maegashira 6 West. I think Tobizaru's potential joy bias at Maegashira 3 is more powerful than any sort of potential joy bias Ura has. I'm kind of conflicting with what I'm doing previously in the Banzuke prediction, but you know what? That's what the Banzuke committee does too, so I can do it as well.
Just oozing with confidence you are.
I hate this Bosch. I hate this Banzuke so much. Um, since I have Haku Oho landing at Maegashira 6 West, that means I have Ura being over demoted by 1 rank to land at Maegashira 7 East after a 7 and 8 record. The placement for me on this Banzuke of Haku Oho and Ura is something that I flip flopped multiple times between drafts, and while I was writing out the explanation for this, I think I originally had Ura at Maegashira. I think might have had Haku Oho, convinced myself to put Ura, and then reconvinced myself to put Haku Oho at Maegashira 6 West. So I've already submitted my Banzuke. Otherwise, I'd probably go back and change it again if I could.
I'm picturing you like Monday morning or whatever, like right before the deadline here, just like emailing and being like, "Hey, can I change?"
Please, you guys, you don't understand. I need to change this.
Your boss is calling you. You're like, "Hold on, this is important."
Yeah. Then at Maegashira 7 West, we are now luckily at a point, with the exception of Takanosho, who luckily we don't have to discuss for a while. We are cleared out of the Falling Sanyaku and Joy Rikshi. So hopefully these tiebreakers start to get a little bit easier. And so next up, we have 2 Rikshi that deserve to be Maegashira 7 fighting for the final Maegashira 7 spot on the west side. We have Onokatsu and Chura no Umi. Onokatsu was 10-5 from Maegashira 12 West, and Chura no Umi was 11-4 from Maegashira 14 West. No side advantage, no large rank discrepancy, just a nice, simple tiebreaker that Chura no Umi should win based on having more wins than Onokatsu. So I have Chura no Umi rising 7 ranks for Maegashira 7 to Maegashira 7 West, meaning that I have Onokatsu rising 4 ranks to Maegashira 8 East.
Makes sense.
And Maegashira 8 West is the real tipping point for this Banzuke. We had a couple of, it's an icy road. We had a couple of cars hit each other's bumpers. They're working on pulling off to the side. But as they're doing it, Maegashira 8 West is the semi-truck that's got turned sideways and is just going to barrel into all 3 of those cars and shut down traffic for the next 4 hours.
Not a hypothetical, by the way. That generally happens once a winter on I-35 here in the Midwest.
Absolutely. So we've already filled one of our Maegashira 8 ranks, and we only have 1 spot left to fill. Unfortunately for us, Banzuke predictors, there are 4 Rikshi that all deserve to be ranked Maegashira 8. So that means 1 Rikshi is going to end up right where he should be. 2 are going to be snubbed by 1 rank, and 1 Rikshi is going to be snubbed by 2 numerical ranks. This is the toughest spot to be in if you're a Rikshi on this Banzuke. Mm-hmm. So to find the 1 Rikshi that will be lucky and receive the promotion or demotion that they deserve, we have to choose from Maegashira 5 Keen Bozan and his 6-9 record, Maegashira 11 Midori Fuji, and Maegashira 11 Meisei, both with 9-6 records, or Maegashira 15 Aonishiki with his 11-4 record. So to start, we have to decide if Keen Bozan is going to get any sort of bias due to being at a much higher rank than the other 3 Rikshi. And I have 2 examples from the last 2 Banzukes that work counter to each other and leave me even more hopelessly confused than when we started. So,
damn it.
If we look back at January of this year, we saw a Maegashira 5 get some preferential treatment over lower ranked Rikshi. Koto Shoho was Maegashira 5 West and went 3-12. He deserved to be ranked Maegashira 14 in the next Basho. In that same Basho, Hokuto Fuji went 7-8 from Maegashira 12 and deserved to be ranked Maegashira 13, 1 rank ahead of Koto Shoho. However, when the Haru Banzuke was released, Koto Shoho was ranked Maegashira 13, and Hokuto Fuji was over-demoted to be ranked Maegashira 14. Hokuto Fuji was even on the east side, while Koto Shoho had been on the west side. So I think that there has been a trend of not just joy bias recently, but protecting Rikshi that clearly fought in a different tier of competition. In this case, a Maegashira 5 versus a Maegashira 12. So in this case, Keen Bozan would fit that bill. So I could have him landing at Maegashira 8 East, despite, by the math, him deserving to be the lowest ranked of these 4 we're considering. But last Basho, Uh,
Yeah. Well, good thing we don't have anything that contradicts that entirely, right?
yeah. Atami Fuji went 5-10 from Maegashira 2 in January. It's like guaranteed you're going to get joy bias on your side at Maegashira 2. And
Hmm.
when we're filling out the Maegashira 7 West rank, it came down to either Atami Fuji or Tamawashi. And Tamawashi went 9-6 from all the way down at Maegashira 10. So that's an 8 rank gap between them. When we were talking about Koto Shoho and Hokuto Fuji, that was a 7 rank gap. So this is an even larger gap in ranking. In this situation, I would have assumed and did assume that joy bias would be on Atami Fuji's side, but it was not, and the committee followed the typical math tiebreakers and over-demoted Atami Fuji. So
Hmm.
we have two kind of similar scenarios. We got Rikshi ranked high dropping down, or Rikshi ranked low coming up, and two completely different results on what happened. So what do I do? What am I supposed to do with that information when faced with this situation? The only thing I can do when times get tough is follow the math. The math would tell me Keen Bozan deserves to be the lowest ranked of all these Rikshi. So I am not going to give him any kind of bias. It kind of also fits back to what I was talking about with like Abi and Tamawashi. Abi going ahead of Tamawashi, not really taking a spot that Tamawashi deserved. Tamawashi still getting his full promotion. When we're in this situation, if we put Keen Bozan here, he is snubbing people that mathematically deserve to be, or not
Right.
mathematically, but have the tiebreakers over him in like a typical situation. He would be keeping them from a rank that they otherwise deserve. So I'm not going to, and that's what I think happened
Yeah.
with Atami Fuji last time is why he got over demoted. Because if we put him ahead of Tamawashi, who would typically win the tiebreaker over him, then we're kind of snubbing Tamawashi, and so that's why they over demoted Atami Fuji.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll see what logic they go with this time, because they could go with the Koto Shoho one and just say, no, screw that. We're going to over demote Hokuto Fuji. So for me, I'm just going to say no bias for Keen Bozan. I was already waffling with giving Ura any kind of
Yeah.
bias at Maegashira 5. Keen Bozan's at the same spot. So for me, the math says Awo Nishiki. He was on the east side. Keen Bozan's on the west side. And he had more wins than anybody in this group. So very reluctantly, I'm putting Awo Nishiki at Maegashira 8 West.
I mean, yeah, Kin Bozan, like, great guy, friend of the show, but he when the math says what the math says.
Yeah.
And yeah,
My hands are tied. My hands are tied.
hands are tied. Yeah. But
I
yeah, Aonishiki, I like it from like a fan's perspective because he's kind of one of the most interesting like new toys to play with in the top division here.
mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about more like the in-ring stuff in our preview, of course. But yeah, Bonsuke wise, I don't certainly don't have a better answer than you do. Like
Nobody does.
they
And
just
that's not like
all the
hubris.
options
It's just
suck.
this is a shit situation. Nobody knows what's going
Yeah.
to happen.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just think back to many other times where I have multiple paragraphs, almost a page worth of notes written on one half rank,
Yeah.
and I get it
And it's
completely
always like an
wrong.
inconsequential rank too.
Yeah.
It's like
Uh,
middle of the Bonsuke.
yeah, and I get it wrong. And then when we look at the Bonsuke, it's like if I had just followed the math, that would have gotten me the
Yeah.
right answer. That's why I have written at the top of my Bonsuke prediction sheet, follow the math. So that's just kind of what I'm doing here. If I'm getting in a tough situation, I really can't figure it out. Who deserves to be ranked ahead of who? Follow the normal tiebreakers. Hopefully that gets you out of the situation, at least somewhat accurately.
I think the next prize we need to get you, if you get back to the top of the Bonsuke rankings, should be like a plaque that just says "Follow the Math."
Ooh, I'd like that. Can put it right behind me somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be perfect.
Like Ted Lasso style, put it above your office door and you like slap it on the way out
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on because we're still in the middle of this pileup. We're still
Yeah,
sitting in
we're
traffic,
like
honking
halfway
our
through
horn.
it.
We haven't
still
moved
got a
for
ways
a
to
half
go.
hour. So at Maegashira 9, Midori Fuji, he was the other one of these four that was on the east side. I've got him rising up 2 ranks to take the Maegashira 9 East ranking. And then, according to the math, next one up would be Meisei. He was on the west side as well as Keen Bozan, but he had 9 wins to Keen Bozan 6. So I've got Meisei also rising up 2 ranks to land at Maegashira 9 West. And that leaves Keen Bozan, and I hate this so much. It leaves Keen Bozan out in the cold to be over demoted by 2 ranks and drop 5 ranks after a 6-9 record. I hate it, but no matter what I do, somebody's getting severely snubbed here. Like I said, I just took the decision out of my hands and placed it into the cradling, loving grasp of math.
We're like bordering on cultish behavior so far here. I like the
We're
direction
just
we're going.
letting the covers. We're just removing the covers now. It's always been there.
Yeah, now I guess the next thing I'm picturing is like instead of Jesus take the wheel, it's like math take the wheel. But I don't know how we would personify math to be the guy with the hands on the steering wheel guiding your truck that's driving down the icy road towards the pileup.
Read the Stormlight Archive. There's a group of
I'm not gonna. I've seen how big that book is. That's thick.
That love like logic and math and stuff like that. So I would have one of those creatures driving the truck to personify our math. Their head is an ever shifting shape of like, what are the things called? Where it's like just like a shape that like kind of goes indefinitely, like small, infinitely.
Oh, like a fractal.
Yeah. Their heads are ever shifting fractals and stuff like that. That's what these creatures are. So that's my imagination of the personification of math.
I'm sorry, man. I'm not going to read that book. I know you.
They're really good. There's 5 of them.
I swear to God, that guy puts stuff out faster than I could literally read them if it was my full-time job.
There's probably like 8,000 pages. It's great.
Oh.
All right. So now we're at Maegashira 10 West. We got through a tough part, but guess what? Snubs ain't done here. We have one rank to fill. We have 1 rank left to fill at Maegashira 10, but 3 new Rikishi to consider. Luckily, the tiebreakers are easy. So we have at this rank Shodai, Endo, and Shishi to consider. Shodai is the only Rikishi of these that was on the east side, so I have him taking the Maegashira 10 West. What does that do for Shodai? That drops him 3 ranks after a 6-9 record. But then that leaves us with an under-promoted Shishi and an over-demoted Endo, both of whom were on the west side. So I'm going to take the 9 and 6 Shishi with more wins to go ahead of the 7 and 8 Endo. So I've got Shishi rising 2 ranks to Maegashira 11 East, and Endo being over demoted by 1 rank to fall from Maegashira 9 to Maegashira 11 West. And
yeah, it's another one that that one is at least less severe of a snubbing, but it's still a pretty objectively unlucky thing.
And hey, guess what? The over demotions don't stop here, folks.
Hooray!
We need to fill the Maegashira 12 ranks, but we haven't even touched the Rikishi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 11 yet. Luckily, there is only one of them that fits that bill, and it is Atami Fuji. So I have Atami Fuji getting a 1 rank over demotion for the 2nd consecutive Basho and dropping 4 ranks after a 6-9 record for Maegashira 12 East.
Great guy, friend of the show. But yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. And so now we breathe a sigh of relief. We made it. We got past the closed lanes, the stop and go traffic, the people that don't know how to use the zipper technique to properly merge.
The people that forgot what snow does, even though it happens every year.
It may have added an extra 2.5 hours to our normally 30-minute commute, but hey, we're finally back up to going 79 miles per hour in a 70-mile-per-hour zone. We passed the log jam, and there's nothing but mostly smooth sailing from here.
Oh, dear. It sounds ominously calm.
I think we're going to fly here pretty much. So at Maegashira 12, there's 1 spot left at Maegashira 12, and there is 1 Rikishi that deserves the Maegashira 12 rank.
Oh, that's nice.
That is Takanosho, who went 3 and 12 for Maegashira 3. We typically use these Rikishi dropping very far from the joy ranks to fill gaps that we build as the Banzuke is being created, but there were no gaps to be filled, and I can't bring myself to place him above any other Rikishi that we've already placed to even further under promote them or over demote them. So I've got Takanosho landing exactly where he should at Maegashira 12 West.
That is kind of uncommon, isn't it?
Yeah. Up next at Maegashira 13, we've got just one Rikishi that deserves to be ranked Maegashira 13, and that is the 10-5 Toki Hayate. So I've got him rising 5 ranks to take the Maegashira 13 East rank. And then we have 2 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 14 to choose from to fill the Maegashira 13 West spot. But we really only have one Rikishi to choose because Juryo Rikishi aren't real people. Until the final Rikishi with a winning record has been placed. But we still have 2 Makuuchi Rikishi with winning records to be placed.
Yeah, so I'm going to take Sadanomi and Koto Shoho still that are blocking. Who is this guy from Juryo that you're talking about?
Roga, who went 11-4 from Juryo 3.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we don't have any crazy ones like I think Shishi deserved to be ranked like Maegashira 9, Maegashira 10. Actually, I can look real quick.
So Roga's at least a few ranks deep in Juryo.
Yeah. Shishi deserved to be ranked like Maegashira 10 based on the math last time. And he ended up at Maegashira 13.
Gotcha.
So yeah, we could just ignore Roga and Sada Naomi. We're going to put him at Maegashira 13 West, a 2-rank promotion after an 8-7 record. How quick things change from over demoting Atami Fuji at Maegashira 12 to over promoting Sada Naomi at Maegashira 13.
I feel like the Banzuke committee is in our highway metaphor. They're like the speed trap. Like there's going to be at least one that's not right for like no damn reason somewhere down here. And that'll be you getting caught by the automatic camera that you forgot was behind that one sign on 235.
I specifically said we were going 79 miles per hour in the 70 zone because it's at 11 where they start ticketing you. Got to be smart
that's
about
true,
these things.
Yeah, and I don't know if they have any automatic ones on the 70 section of 35.
No, they
235, they have a handful.
Yeah, at the 60 and 55s.
I always stay only 6 over there.
So yeah, if you're in Des Moines and you don't know how the traffic cameras work, just don't go 11 miles per hour over the speed limit on 235, and you're golden.
This has been Grand Central Iowa Traffic Breakdown with Ryan and Jake.
Also, if it's snowy, go slower. Be careful.
Slippery.
Quite. All right. Maegashira 14. Juryo Rikishi continue to not exist. So I will over-promote Koto Shoho by 1 rank after an 8-7 record to have him land at Maegashira 14 East. And now that Juryo Rikishi suddenly exists, I could see that Roga deserves to be ranked Maegashira 14. And no other Rikishi deserves to be ranked until Maegashira 17. Roga will easily rise from Juryo 3 to Maegashira 14 West after an 11-4 record.
Okay, so we've got a hole to fill here.
So yeah, now we're at Maegashira 15, and we have to choose from 3 Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Maegashira 17 to fill these 2 spots. Once again,
you just hit that first street exit coming south. The speed limit went right down, so we gotta just be careful, slow down a little bit.
Yep. So once again, we should be able to treat the Juryo Rikishi like the garbage that they are, and ignore him as we set our sights on the more popular Makuuchi Rikishi, the hot popular Makuuchi Rikishi like Ryuden and Shona Naomi. Maybe
guys.
not the best
Friends
analogy
of the show.
there. Yeah. Nevertheless, Ryuden and Shona Naomi will likely end up ahead of a promoted Juryo Rikishi. So I have Ryuden dropping only 1 rank after a 6-9 record to land at Maegashira 15 East, and I have Shona Naomi dropping 5 ranks after a 4-11 record to Maegashira 15 West. I have them in this order because Ryuden was previously on the east side and Shona Naomi was on the west side.
Sure. Ryuden also had the better record of the 2.
That too. But the main reason was east-west side, and so I didn't even care about their records.
Yeah, and like a refresher on your tiebreakers, you just do them sequentially, right? Like the other ones don't factor in if you hit the first layer.
First check east-west, then check wins.
And then don't
There's only 2 layers.
Yeah. Okay, fair.
All right. Then at Maegashira 16, the next three Rikishi that we have to choose from are all Juryo Rikishi, and all of them deserve to be at least one rank higher than the next Makuuchi Rikishi. So I
Oh,
think they
so they're
should be the
okay.
next three to go.
They're at
Uh,
least in the mix at that point. Yeah.
yeah. So Kaio deserves to be ranked higher than the other two Juryo Rikishi. So I have him making his Makuuchi debut at Maegashira 16 East after his 9-6 record from Juryo 2. Joining him at Maegashira 16 West, I have Tama Shoho making his return to the top division after he picked up an 8-7 record from the top Juryo rank. And then sliding down to Maegashira 17, after Tama Shoho, we should have our second top division debutante in May with Tochi Taikai taking the Maegashira 17 East rank after a 9-6 record from Juryo 3. So after we've placed these three Juryo Rikishi, we are now left to choose from four Rikishi that deserve to be ranked Juryo 1 to fill our final two spots in the Makuuchi Banzuke. But luckily for us, we've got two Makuuchi Rikishi and two Juryo Rikishi to select from. And the two Juryo Rikishi we have to choose from are coming from deep Juryo, like the deepest of Juryo. So unfortunately, I don't think Kusano, who went 14-1 from the lowest Juryo rank of Juryo 14 West, will quite make it into the top division this Basho. Same goes to Hide no Umi, who went 10-5 from Juryo 6. I think our dropping Makuuchi Rikishi are going to have preference over those two coming from deep Juryo. So
Will be cool to see because you very rarely have people that do that well in Juryo.
mhm.
Usually, if somebody is good enough to go like 14 or 15 wins in Juryo, they just speed right out and you don't really have all that much data as
Yeah.
they sail upwards. But yeah, somebody getting that good of a record from the very, very bottom will be kind of an interesting data point to look at when they release the Bansuke.
Let's see what Endo did, because when Endo was in Juryo, he went 14-1 from Juryo 13 West, and
Hmm.
he did make it to the top division the next
Oh, okay.
Basho.
I think was it Tochi Notion who got like a
Jesus
15?
Christ, he went all the way to Maegashira 13 from
Good
Juryo
heavens.
13.
That doesn't feel right.
The Botsuke only went down to Maegashira 16, but still.
Man, that's quite the over promotion for him too. That's weird.
They were a lot nicer. I remember Kakuryu. He went like 9-6 from Juryo 1 or 2 and ended up Maegashira 9 in
Huh.
his Makuuchi debut.
Fascinating.
But
Yeah,
now I
so it's
gotta
more
see
a
how
more
did
recent thing
Kakuryu
that we're
do in his Makuuchi debut when he debuted so high. Hold on, we're going down rabbit holes.
well, he made it to
Uh,
Yokozuna, so I imagine he did pretty well.
yeah,
Hey, do you want to like knock out these last two names real quick so that we can
no.
Okay.
So Kakuryu went 9-6 from Juryo 1 West, and then in the next Basho, he was promoted up to Maegashira 8 West, and he did get an 8-7 record. So
So at least put the brakes on him for a minute.
yeah. All right. So yeah, we're just left to two falling Makuuchi Rikishi to fill up our final two spots. Both were on the east side, so the tiebreaker we're looking at is going to be wins. Asakoryu had 6 wins compared to Nishikigi's 3 wins. So I have Asakoryu landing at Maegashira 17 West, dropping only 1 rank, which leaves Nishikigi to round out the top division, falling 8 ranks from Maegashira 10 to Maegashira 18 East after a 3-12 record.
Yeah. Both are great guys, friends of the show, but the
Yeah.
tiebreakers are what they are.
Mm-hmm. It's unfortunate that we've got to treat such wonderful people this way.
Mm.
So we've got 4 Rikishi coming up to the top division in Roga, Kaio, Tamashoho, and Tochi Taikai, which means we've got to say goodbye to 4 top division Rikishi. Those are being Takada Fuji, who went 3-12 for Maegashira 12, Nishiki Fuji, who was absent for most of the Basho, Mitake Yumi, 6-9 from Maegashira 17, so that's a big one. Mitake Yumi more than likely going down to Juryo. I can't say it's 100% certain because this is just my prediction, but he's going down to Juryo. And then
First
also
time in a long
Shido Kuma.
time.
Yeah. Shido Kuma going down to Juryo after 5-10 record for Maegashira 17. So Jake, what are your takeaways from this? I mean, we know where I'm going to struggle the most, but kind of what are your thoughts on this Bansuke?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add that we haven't already talked about. That Aonishiki pick might be the one that if you got that one right,
That
then you
that
got a
was the
lot of the
one
stuff
that
right
I
around
talked
it.
about that I completely redid. I think my initial one I had Midori Fuji at Maegashira 8 West, because my thought was I'm going to what did I have? No, might have been I've had Keen Bozon there. I I had Keen Bozon at Maegashira 8 West, and then I think I had me maybe it was Aonishiki, Midori Fuji, and then Keen Bozon ahead of Meisei. Because in my head, I was thinking, all right,
Sure.
I'm not going to give Keen Bozon preferential treatment over the people on the east side, but I'll give him preferential treatment over people on the west side um, that are all tied with
Yeah.
him. And at that point, I'm like, I'm trying too hard. I'm just going to, at that point, either he's going ahead of all of them or he's going ahead of none of them. And
The
so I
fact that you have
decided,
this much more to say means yes, this is the spot to watch for sure.
yeah,
I
I
think
the whole from Maegashira 6 to Maegashira 10. Maegashira 6 East to Maegashira 10 East. I could get every single one of those Rikshi wrong.
yeah.
Um, maybe with the exception of Chuda no Umi and Onokatsu, but everybody else in there I could get wrong. It
Sure.
would not shock me in the slightest.
Yeah. Rankings wise though, obviously the other one to watch would be like the Sanyaku situation. It's not super common for you to have any doubts about where the Sanyaku wrestlers are going. At least through Komusubi, that's usually pretty straightforward. But this one feels like there's a little bit more mystery in the air than usual.
Yep.
And then I guess the Juryo situation. The
That's
rule that
pretty clear cut to me.
yeah. I sorry, I mean like I already forgot the name. The guy who did super well from the bottom.
Kusano.
Kusano, thank you. I'd be curious to see if there's you think there's more than zero chance, even if it's a very small one, that he makes it up here?
I can't say that it's a 0% chance, but like
But come on.
10% chance might be generous.
Yeah, yeah. I'd be curious to see where he lands because I know that the more recent trend is for Juryo wrestlers to get beat up a little bit when it comes to the rankings when they make their way to the top division. I'm kind of curious how that applies within the Juryo division itself, if the rules are as straightforward. So I'm kind of curious to see where he lands.
Hmm.
I know that it's more than we have the bandwidth for to predict the Juryo Banzuke as well, but I'm just kind of curious. I might take a look at it when it
I
gets
just
released.
really don't want to.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not getting scored on it, so I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah. There you go. I don't know. Lots of little interesting things to keep an eye on.
Yep, and we will learn all of those answers in a little under a week when the Bansuke is released on Sunday, April 27th for us in the Americas. If you're over in Japan or on that side of the world, it's going to be released Monday, April 28th. And it's all going to be for the Basho that starts on May 11th. So we're getting closer to another Basho coming around. Could be getting closer to another Yokozuna.
That'd be neat.
So that would be very neat indeed. But that is all that I've got, Jake, for this episode. So take us home.
I was also going to mention that we might have a little bit of amateur sumo stuff coming out too. I want to have a recap of nationals. That's still in the mix. Hopefully figured out by the time this episode comes out, but we'll see.
We'll also have our news update.
I'm closing out the show now, Ryan. If you could keep it down for a minute. I did also want to mention we have our news update for the off month coming up sometime soon. That'll probably be released this week or next week as well. But until next time, throw your salt high and keep bothering Ryan.
Don't worry, this Bansuke is going to bother me plenty until it's released.